Oh, I won't back down. Oh, I can't back down. You could stand me up at the gates of hell, or maybe the Degrassi black hole. I know I have many weird opinions, but I know it's right to tell you why I can think of 10 things that I can't let go, and I won't back down. There's always a major question in the Degrassi universe on the man slash woman in charge of Degrassi and how they got turfed and reasoning and all that. From what was Mr. Lawrence's role in Degrassi Junior High to where was the high school principal in Degrassi High, the main principal, to Radish's blundering in season 4, to Hatzalako's being principal, leaving for a season, then coming back, to the Shep stepping in for one season and taking off a lot of people, to the fact that Simpson and his principal work kind of didn't work out so well to some people. But what have I told and what did I told you about Simpson's replacement and how she basically ran the school to try to feed her own ego and how she was trying her best to make sure that the school board knew that she could run the school and become the new principal and take out Simpson. She got canned, and maybe there's a reasoning. Maybe there's a mama bear involved. A papa bear, probably not. But anyway, this is the bitterest pill to swallow. So the list of Degrassi principals is very long and arduous. Back in the old days at Degrassi Junior High with Mr. Lawrence, a famous unseen principal that was never seen or even had a silhouette of him, which is stupid. I mean, he would do stuff over the intercom and make major decisions such as kicking Spike out of Degrassi at the request of the parents who think that Lady and Spike, who's pregnant, will have their teenage daughters think that having a baby is cool, although basically it wouldn't be. And then, of course, battling with Caitlin, and Caitlin's battle with Miss Lawrence actually led Caitlin to become the crusader she is for journalism. And of course, Mr. Lawrence making weird things with Joey and LD and all them. So, yeah, so then the second principal in Degrassi High was unseen as well. But we don't know who the principal was or whether it was a he or she. Mr. Raj was there, but Raj was there, as he told Joey, he was the vice principal. So, of course, that meant that Joey was right about Raj being there, but Raj was not the principal, he was the vice principal. He was the number 2 in charge. But it's just sad that we didn't get to know who the principal in Degrassi High was. And a lot of people make the common mistake that it was Radish, but it's not. He was on screen, but it wasn't him. And then next gen, when Raj becomes principal, and for the first few seasons, he's okay. Like season 2, of course, with the fight for your right situation with Emma, what was one of the worst things for him. It's just like, well, Raj had a point about the fact that they couldn't ban GMO foods because, they're lucky to have a cafeteria and, the budgeting. And, students sometimes don't know about that. But the simple fact is that, Raj basically wanted to make Emma kneel before him, but Emma almost did. But she does apologize for the food fight, even though that Emma starts interfering. But she also then decides to have Raj do some free speech stuff and gets on Radish's nerves. And Raj becomes more and more jaded by seasons 3 and 4. You can kind of see it. I mean, a lot of people do think that his stuff with Sean was just, Raj upset with Sean bad-mouthing him. But Sean stole stuff from the school. Raj couldn't prove it, or didn't have the evidence, but he could put Sean in detention for 8 weeks just to, make him know the real-life consequences. And then, of course, Radish making his mistakes in season 4. There will be a video about Radish later on in this series, but obviously I'm not going to go through it there because, by the title. Anyhow, so Roger's gone. Hatzalakos comes in and is a little too free willing with Peter. Let Peter run around the school. Peter should have been expelled for exposing Manny's video to everybody. I mean, Hatzalakos knew. And then in season 6, she should have given Peter a massive punishment for putting drugs in Sean's locker. Although I would think that Peter was probably going to cry crocodile tears. Hatzalakos had a good reign as principal. She did expel Jay and Spinner. Well, she had to, in a sense, to please the school board. She let Spinner try to get better in season 5 and put him on a zero tolerance thing, but Spinner doesn't budge, and Spinner basically does well. And then, of course, then she takes a leave of absence. The Shep comes in, and then the Shep basically runs a school for a year, favors very hot cheerleaders like Holly J and people who are popular, and doesn't like the gifted class, or people like Sav who aren't too happy with his tenure. Shep gets in trouble for his tirade on Claire calling her a little bitch, although some people of the Degrassi universe would think that Claire's a bitch. But remember, this is not Claire in the later seasons. This is Claire season 8. But the fact of the matter with Claire is that, she did her best and everything. And, Shep got called out for his policies, especially with Jane in the football team and not protecting Jane. So he goes to sensitivity training, tries to become better and all that. He appears in the first episode of season 9 congratulating Mia on going to Paris, but after that he's gone. And Hatzalakos steps in. Well, Hatzalakos comes back from Regina. I guess it's a way that, her mother's okay now, and then she can take the school back. And also with Peter's 2-day meth habit. So Hatzalakos becomes principal season 9, makes a few common mistakes, especially with Valley, and then she leaves the keys to Simpson, who does quite well the first few seasons and all that. Like, he's a hands-off principal when he has to be, but unfortunately Audra, aka Mama Bear Torres, gets mad at Simpson's lack of knowledge with the whole Adam and Drew thing. Adam for being transgender and Drew for being hazed by Riley. Simpson does all this stuff, but Audra wants to get under Simpson's skin. Simpson greenlights a Las Vegas dance, even though Audra doesn't like it. Simpson assures everything will be okay, but unfortunately it was Fitz and his friend trying to go after Claire and Eli. Holly J and Sav doing a striptease, and then, you got yourself the students making a mess of things in the boiler room and all that. Simpson has to make new measures to save his job. I mean, no extracurriculars, that's fair. Shantae makes him realize extracurriculars are good, but then Simpson said, the better you do, the more stuff will come back to you, and all that. So that's what he does. Sure, he makes a few boo-boos, such as not really punishing Zoe for what she did to Maya in season 13 with the cyber shaming, and overreacting to Maya's song on Zoe by putting her in the rubber room. Are you serious? I bet you Zoe's mom had an influence on Simpson and all that. I'll get to that when I talk about the whole Hollingsworth influence on Simpson. But the fact with Hollingsworth and everyone else is that, Simpson was a good principal, and then Degrassi knew he had to take a leave of absence, or basically was canned, and then this woman by the name of Deidre Pill comes in with new policies. No backpacks, no cell phones, especially on school premises, cameras in the hallway, and a no affection policy. Now, the backpacks and cell phone thing I can deal with. The cameras would have worked well with Pill if it wasn't for the fact that she used them to spy on students and told Claire about her friends worrying about the miscarriage. And Claire was like, I never said anything about a miscarriage. And then Pill said, yeah. How do you know? But Pill says your friends are concerned. Well, that's an invasion of privacy, is it not? So then when she tries to become student council president, she turns it on Pill, saying that, I don't want to be part of this school with her spying on you. Pill's upset with her, and then Claire decides to destroy the cameras, gets a 2-week suspension Pill just being angry and all that. And then the no affection policy is like, what does affection have to do with the Degrassi nudes situation? It just doesn't make sense. I mean, yeah, she's trying to fix the school after Degrassi nudes, but the no affection policy. And the main reason why I get this bad vibe from Pill is the simple fact about her no affection policy. So the story goes like this. In season 14's episode finale, the two-parter, Drew wants to ask Becky to the prom and does a proposal in front of the class for her. Becky scoffs at it and says no. Drew's humiliated, and then he's told by Pill not to attend prom because he broke the no affection policy. Drew sits at home. Audra says, what are you doing? You gotta go to prom. Like Drew obeyed Pill. But Drew says, I have to do what I have to do. And then learns that Dallas misbooked the prom boat. It was coming next year instead of the year. And then Audra says, Drew, fix this. Make sure the prom is okay. So Drew goes into the school with the key codes, gets stuff, and throws it at the dot. I originally thought it was at the school, but I was wrong. Pill's not too happy with it and tells Drew that only you and I know the key codes and all that, and I would never do that. Did anyone else put you up to it? Speak now, and you could be punished less. Drew looks at Dallas, looks at everyone, and says, no. And then Pill basically says, you are going to get your diploma, but you will not walk up on stage. I have to make sure that the students coming in know about my policies, and you're going to be kind of my scapegoat. And it says, what type of punishment you face if you cross the line. Dallas and the other seniors see this and do the tribute for We Love You, Drew, and all that. And Pill relents and allows Drew to cross the stage. And then when next class happens in season 15, Pill's gone and Simpson's in. Now, of course, the questions remain. Was Simpson going to come back to Degrassi for the next school year after Degrassi nudes? It's possible that there was a investigation and Simpson had no knowledge, and that saved his butt. Of course, when I saying all about this stuff about Pill is that, you know, Pill is just making things a whole lot worse. But the simple fact is that Pill made some massive boo-boos. And the biggest thing for me is Audra Torres's influence. Now, I'm not saying Audra Torres was the school board or the PTA. She was the head of the PTA. And she did have some clout in the school board system, but not a whole lot. So she could have used her clout to get Pill fired. And you'll be thinking, well, Pill was just a replacement. Yeah, she was based on a replacement, but she wanted to do such a good job that the school board decides to keep her on and not worry about Simpson. She did it to try to save her job and all that. Did these policies trying to say, I can fix Degrassi and I can do it with no problems at all. Unfortunately for Pill, she completely misses the ball. But the fact of the matter is, Audra Torres had to have something to do with it. Because, I mean, it was her kid that got burned by Pill. And she knew that Drew wasn't lying about Pill's policies. And she could easily get the PTA to get the school board to listen and make sure that Pill, that would have been the final straw for Pill not to come back to Degrassi. So, I did a Reddit post. I'm taping this on August 19th, 2023, for this week's version. And 6 days ago, I did this. It's called, well, I did Shep too. I talked about Shep and that, you know, he was probably booted because he let Jay take the studs with Sav and them across the border to California to get Manny her acting job back on the Jay and Silent Bob movie in a school bus, in a Degrassi school bus. It's a little bit sexist or reckless. I said, what about Pill? But she was supposed to be temporary at the end of season 14, sure. But what if she was going to be there for the future, potentially? It didn't happen, obviously. But in her mind, she thought if she did a good job, she might stay on. But her supposed ego ruined it for her. Her cell phone and backpack policy was good. The camera thing could have been good if it wasn't for her trying to weasel in on conversations so that she could help students out. AKA trying to help Claire out with her miscarriage. And let's not forget her nap. No affection policy. Which didn't make a whole lot of sense, and told Drew to stay away from prom even though he was shut down on his proposal to Becky. Of course, Drew is good into throwing by Audra, and Pew is fuming, and when Drew refused to name names, he's forced to sit at the graduation ceremony. And she says she needs to make an example out of him for the new students. But of course, Pill allows Drew across the stage. What I'm getting at is that, is it possible Audra had something to do with Pill's ouster? I mean, it probably wasn't the only reason, but added on to why she was canned. What are your thoughts? And one person said, I thought they originally said Simpson was placed on leave. Of course, Simpson said he was going to start another school in Haiti. But that wouldn't necessarily mean he would be staying there. I assume he was still married to Snake, his husband Spike, and he still had Jack. Haiti's not for a family. And they said that Pill was hired as an interim, although she did say she would have to be tough on Drew to send a message to the students next year, so she assumed she would be back next year, so something must have changed. Well, there's such a change. There is a change. And the big change is that, Simpson came back. It's possible that Degrassi knew the situation definitely wasn't his fault, and they could not have charged him with anything, and that his inattentiveness actually worked out for him, and that he could have stayed on at Degrassi. But the simple fact is that, Audra had to have something to do with it. I'm not saying she was the main reason why Pill was oustered. Now, a lot of people would be like, oh, well, Pill was going to be gone the next year anyway, and Simpson was going to come back. Fair enough. But let's not forget that this was at the time that Degrassi was almost canned. Next Class was nothing but a pipe dream and all that. Of course, Netflix was supposed to do Next Class this year in 2023, but guess what? It didn't happen. HBO too, but Next Class came on board because Netflix wanted it to happen and put it there, and Degrassi had to come back with darker storylines, as they put it. The whole Degrassi situation was still up in the air before Summer Girls, aka the Degrassi summer movie, at the end of season 14, told us with Tristan saying that if you think this class is bad, wait till the new ones come in. And I'm like, they're not letting this go? Why? But of course, Pill probably would have been gone anyway. But, Pill could have been part of Next Class and all that, trying to make the students play her way, if you will. What I'm just trying to get at is that, Pill had a terrible no affection policy. I mean, what does a nap have to do with anything with Degrassi and all that? Boyfriends and girlfriends have to show affection outside school and all that. Some do, some don't. But it's just awkward. I think she just wanted to whip Degrassi into shape, hopefully trying to get in next year to the next year. But then she found out she was out and Simpson was in. So I think Audra must have had something because, it was her child. And Audra used her mama bear powers for good this time. So that's all I've got for this video. Thank you for watching. I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.